This is a bit of a weird one, mate. Occasionally these sort of copyrights and patents and that sort of thing pop up. This one, though, is from Honda. Shout out to Cycle World for finding this one. And basically the idea is it will be a crosswind assist, possibly like a lane keeping assist. So the sort of thing you're very much used to in a car where it'll see the edge of the lane markings and kick you back into the lane if you're wandering over because you've zoned out.
Yeah.
This might well be coming to bikes in the future. So the bike will be able to steer effectively on your behalf. Immediate impressions, Tim.
I'm a small concern in terms of the fact that with a car, your balance isn't key to the lane assist and the steering wheel being tweaked out of your fingertips, as opposed to the bike going, nah, keeping that lane and your balance is going the other way. That feels a little bit strange, but I'm sure they've worked it out. I'm sure there'll be some testing involved, and it's probably not as extreme. My initial thought is that it sounds pretty out there, but as it sort of trickles down to a consumer level, chances are it'll be less extreme, right? A little bit more moderate. It's the same with those wings, right? The active aerodynamics, where we like active aerodynamics, and then you actually see it in real life, and you're like, it makes a little difference. Like it's a small little thing.
Yeah, I wouldn't expect that this is going to be able to like shove you across 3 lanes in the blink of an eye. It will probably be quite
subtle, right? Yeah.
Modest input.
Yeah.
Firstly, it sort of reminds me straight away of that self-balancing bike.
Yeah.
Did you see that?
I have, yeah.
The Honda, where it's following the guy around like a dog.
Yeah.
Very weird to look at. And you see something like that, and again, it's almost like high fashion on the catwalk. You're like, well, that's so ridiculous that no one's going to wear that or ride that. But it's the little ideas that trickle down into, H&M 3 years later, aka a boring commuter bike or something.
Yeah.
And I guess that has helped them develop something that can balance regardless of what the front wheel's doing. Whether the rider's a little bit off balance or not. But the idea is it's a servo mounted behind the steering head. One assumes that the handlebars aren't decoupled from the fork. Do you know what I mean? Imagine if you were just holding the bars going forward, but the front wheel can independently move. I don't think that's happening. You must get some feedback from the bars. And the inputs are listed as a steering torque sensor. So are you putting anything through the bars? Steering angle sensor. So where's the wheel pointing? Speed of the bike, acceleration of the bike, but also maybe a radar or camera. And that would be, I guess, tying it into stuff like active cruise and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Look, I have been caught by a few surprising crosswinds. Things like, I was thinking, that huge bridge over the estuary from Bristol kind of area over to South Wales?
Yeah.
You know the one?
Yeah.
Naturally, you're up in the air. It's an estuary. Do the maths. You're going to get some strong winds.
Yeah.
And you've got those huge concrete things where the suspension, my gosh.
Science with Rob.
Bridge engineering knowledge is poor. But where the cables come out, those big vertical concrete things, you're riding along, right? And you've got this severe side wind, so you're leaning into it a little bit.
Yeah.
And they're substantial, those supports, they're not just a couple meters wide.
Sure.
They're really quite big.
Yeah.
So when you ride past them, you get shelter from the wind for a second.
Yeah.
Maybe less, but completely, and then immediately back into the crosswind.
Yeah.
That is quite
harrowing.
I think that's quite an extreme example.
Yeah. No, I get what you
strong.
Yeah, no, I understand what you're saying. I think I've experienced sort of that or close to. I do remember it, but I can't remember exactly where. But yeah, it's not a fun feeling at all. Similar to that,
if you don't see it coming, you just end up.
Yeah, no, exactly. Those ones are worse
the
because you're not expecting it. Whereas, and I think this is genuinely the term, so I'm not trying to make a pun here, but the suck and blow effect of a truck when you fall into
you
this. When you're alongside a truck, basically, you can feel it.
I always wondered why you would always sit alongside trucks.
I linger there a little too long.
On a ride together. Yeah. I'm like, come on, mate, keep up.
So yeah, anyway, you get pulled into the truck. When you're alongside it and you get pulled towards it a little bit, right? And then you come out the other end and it pushes you wayward. So yeah, no, it's a similar sort of thing. However, with the truck, because you do it a few times, it's going to happen, so you're kind of prepared for it. But the thing, like you're saying with the bridge, when it's kind of a freak wind like that and you can't really account for it, so you can't brace for it almost. So it just sort of, I know, the lanes luckily are big enough that you can kind of cruise that out. But it does adjust your line uncomfortably. So no, if it can work, if they can pull it off, then I'm all for it. It sounds interesting. I just wonder, like I say, when it sort of trickles down to actually being made, if it's ever made, how much of a difference it's going to be. Probably quite subtle.
I would imagine so. I think, honestly, putting this out to the audience, I'd love to know people's feedback in the comments of the full episode here. But it really feels like one of those things where most of the audience are going to say it's too far. Because there's fairly negative reaction, I'd say, to stuff like active cruise control. There's only a small percentage of riders who would want that. To extend that kind of intervention to steering, probably only a very, very, very small percentage of riders. Maybe if you knew it would be helpful on like a learner bike, like an NC 750 or something. But then is it really teaching you to ride? Great question.
Yeah.
Leave your comments below, letting us know what you think this would actually be good for. Maybe on a big tourer as well. Where you've got a big side area, you've got a passenger, you've got the luggage.
True, very true.
You're acting like a big sail.
Yeah.
But you might be like an older rider who's feeling a bit less comfortable with the side of the bike or, something like that. Maybe that would be good. But otherwise, I think most people would just rather get sucked and blown by the lorry.